ever seen anything like this.
Hey there, Wildcat fans. I'm Bob.
Oofda! I'm Larry. Welcome to Catnips, and welcome to the conclusion of Week 6 of the college football season. A week in which we had the pleasure of watching the Northwestern Wildcats defeat the Wisconsin Badgers 20-14 at Ryan Field.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
It was another game in which Northwestern's defense continued to play lights out, particularly our secondary, recording 4 interceptions, 3 by redshirt freshman Godwin Igwebuike. Now, Northwestern Sports actually noted in the post-game comments that this game was the first game since 1973 that a Wildcat player had notched 3 interceptions in the same game. The last time that happened was the very beginning of the Dark Ages. Neil Little had actually had 3 picks against the Hoosiers.
And I think that was very, very significant from a karmic standpoint. We're going back now and we're actually negating the Dark Ages.
Yet another ghost of the Dark Ages has been exorcised.
What do you think of this?
Well, I felt this game started out somewhat ominously. The Cats in their first possession weren't able to get any points. About the only thing they did of note was drop a great punt inside the 5-yard line again. Chris Gradone, hats off to you. Wisconsin marched down the entire length of the field and got nothing, thanks to...
Snap to McAvoy. Drops, stops, under pressure, throws it downfield, jump ball, and it is intercepted by the Wildcats. Intercepted. It was intercepted by Igwebuike.
And, you know, that actually came after a 58-yard run by Melvin Gordon.
And I have to say that kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. The Cats defense showing up to play when it mattered and taking the ball away when necessary.
We were wondering if they'd be able to stop Gordon. They didn't. They contained him, and they stopped him when it was necessary, when it actually counted.
Yes, and I think our first award today is the Cheese Whiz Award that we're going to give to Wisconsin head coach Gary Anderson.
Did you give me my cheese whiz, boy?
And his offensive coordinator, Andy Ludwig, for taking the game out of the hands of Melvin Gordon, who gained 265 yards, and instead placing it in the hands of his 2 quarterbacks, who went 12 for 29 with 4 picks.
And we've actually traced the Trail of Tears back here behind the Cheddar Curtain for this special edition of Catnips.
Hello, Wisconsin!
So we'd like to point out what we consider to be the plays of the game. First play was a magnificent interception by Jimmy Hall, and that sets up this reverse play to Miles Schuler, made possible by a great block by none other than Trevor Siemian. To point out what we felt were great special teams play and a certain amount of risk-taking by Coach Fitzgerald that seemed to pay off for him. And it's nice to see that the Cats have the confidence to try to take some risks now in these big games.
And Bob, this was a big game. You know, this made sure that Ryan Field continued to be a house of pain for Wisconsin, as it has been since 1999.
You know the house of pain is in effect, y'all, and anyone that steps up is getting wrecked.
And let's hope that we get on a roll here, and with Wisconsin in our division, we play every year. Let's hope we can go up to Camp Randall and make sure that it's not the house of pain for us. It's been since 2000.
And that brings us to this week's Purple Fist of Justice. This week's fist goes to 3 players. It goes to Godwin Igwebuike for the interception festival he had against Wisconsin. It goes to fist favorite Justin Jackson, who had 165 yards and really nailed it when it counted. And it goes to quarterback Trevor Siemian. It goes to quarterback Trevor Siemian because of the monster block on the Miles Schuler reverse.
And we want to give a special shout out to Coach Jerry Brown. The defensive secondary played a magnificent game. They were there when they needed to be there. They picked when they needed to pick. And they even lent a lot of effort in on run support and helped stop Melvin Gordon. So, Jerry, tip of the hat to you.
Congratulations on the honorary fist. So it's on to Minnesota, and Minnesota is coming off a big bye week. And, of course, before that, it's coming off of its big win against the Wolverines, 30-14 in Ann Arbor.
That used to mean something, Larry.
It used to mean something. Yes, indeed. But it still does mean something for this Minnesota team, which is a lot better than people give it credit for. Minnesota right now, 19th best scoring defense in the country. We've got our hands full. And, like Wisconsin, this is a run-first team. I think the Northwestern defense is going to have a similar strategy to the defense it had against Wisconsin. It's going to have to try to contain, and even if it doesn't stop, it'll have to try to contain senior running back David Cobb. Right now, he's averaging just under 6 yards a carry, but he is a devastatingly effective running back.
And Minnesota has a much better quarterback in Leitner.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to have to try to do the same thing, though, with Leitner, try to get him to throw, but understand it's going to be a very, very dangerous mix here with Leitner, who really can torch opponents.
Well, let's hope that Justin Jackson and Trevor Simeon and all the stars on the Northwestern offense can rise to the occasion and score enough points to keep us in the game.
By the way, this topic was my idea.
Yeah.
So, Bob, is it time for potables?
Larry, I think it's time for potables. What do we got today?
Today, we have, from Minnesota, a delightful Alexis Bailey ice wine.
Ice wine.
Ice wine.
Is ice wine nice?
It is if you're from Minnesota.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Oofda.
So, let me give this a shot here. Well, this ice wine has a high alcohol content, which I'm going to equate to octane. And I think the Gophers are going to come out with a high-octane offense on us that is going to be a challenge for the Cats' defense. I will say this wine lacks balance, so that might work in our favor. But it would appear to have an adequate finish. So, going to be a tough test for the Cats, but I'll call for the Cats to prevail 24-20.
This is surprisingly good. I wasn't prepared for this to taste that good. And just as this is surprisingly good, hey, Minnesota is a surprisingly good team. So is Northwestern. But I predicted earlier that there might be a letdown game, particularly if we had the good fortune and the good talent to beat both Penn State and Wisconsin. I think this is the letdown game, and I think this could be 31-24 in favor of the Gophers. Again, as usual, let's hope I'm wrong.
I certainly hope you're wrong, but we'll just have to wait till Saturday to see. That's why they play the games, right?
Indeed.
All right, that's it for this special edition of Catnips from behind the Cheddar Curtain. So, cheers, and as always,
Go Cats!